Well, hello there, David Taylor or Mr Pelargonium, and I'm finally back with another video for the Pelargonium and Geranium Society. It's early December, we're in midwinter. I know it's been some time since I've done a video, so there's a few things to have a look at, so let's get going. Hello there, well it's really good to see you again. I know it's been a little while since I've done a video, I'm afraid. I've been working hard on the Pelargonium Society yearbook, which we publish in December, and I've had to be putting together the show schedule, of course, which I'm responsible for. Filming this on Monday, I think it's the 4th of December. It's turned mild again now, but we've actually had just over a week of very, very cold weather. The first really hard frosts of the winter. My plants have been tucked up lovely and warm with the heater blasting for about a week now. But really before about a week ago, the autumn remained very, very mild. In fact, almost warm in many ways. And I was still having to water the majority of my plants twice a week, up to just about 10 days ago, where they're all down now to about a week to 10 days before I need to water them. I have been going round regularly about once a week, sort of going through the majority of the plants to keep them tidy. Because as soon as you get that bit of rot back, you get the botrytis set in. I think most people know I have a very, very damp glass house here. Certainly having the heater on virtually non-stop over the last week has made a bit of difference in the glass house. It's dried the air out somewhat. But as soon as that damp gets into leaves, it can work back to the stem and it can cause rot back and all kinds of problems. Now, the other thing, of course, that I will be doing this month will actually be stopping my regal pelargoniums for the show next year. Anybody that has followed me for a while will know that I have to do this in December. Otherwise, my regal pelargoniums for show just will not be flowering by June if I don't do the stopping or slightly cutting back this month. Zonals I don't have a problem with. They are stopped at more or less the 18 to 20 week mark, which is the timing for the zonal types for a lead through to flower for June, for the June shows. So I do them in normal times, but the regals, I think it's just the fact that I have got quite an enclosed situation here. The light just makes a real difference to the regals, and I have to get them stopped this month to almost give them 6 months really to get a good, head of flower on them for the June shows. Now, any plants that needed potted up were all done quite some time ago. I like to get certainly exhibition plants potted up, certainly by the end of October at the absolute latest. I know there are some exhibitors that would, pot up realistically even now, but I like to get those roots embedded by the time the weather really starts cooling down, such as now. So I don't want them sitting in lots and lots of just open, potentially damp compost. But I won't touch anything now with regard to potting on until February. As soon as the days start to lengthen and the plants just show a little bit of sign of growing again, that's when I will pot on anything that needs sort of moving up. These would not be show plants. These would be plants that are just stock plants that I just grow for my own entertainment really, and just use as stock and taking cuttings and those sorts of things. Now, one plant that I have got that grows very well for me is this large standard of a really sort of strong growing basic zonal with a really good zoned leaf, which has got a name now. Bred by Steve Pollard, the Pelargonium Society chairman. Now, I will have to remind myself what it is without bashing all my others. This is called Rushmore Spotted Shrimp, because it very much has got the shrimp colours. It's a white with the spots and splashes of, yes, shrimp pink. I suppose you could say. Good name for it, I suppose, realistically. But I did have coming up the base here, you may even remember, if you look back, go over my videos about a year ago, I had a stem coming up from the base that was solid shrimp pink, and I cut that out, and that did get rid of it. But rather annoyingly, I've got another piece of stem which is actually coming out of this main stem that has got the spotted white with the shrimp pink growing out. So I'm going to need to cut that entire little stem that's gone back to solid base, the solid dark pink, and I need to take that stem out. So I'm going to do that now. This is very dry, and it's also the reason why there's a fair number of yellowing leaves on this. So I'm going to take these off. I mean, we'll do it as we speak. As I've said, I keep my plants very dry during the winter, and that's almost certainly why I've got a number of yellowing leaves on here. Plus the fact, of course, in a dense plant, they will, you know, where there's no light getting to the leaves, they will yellow off. Now, I have done a certain amount of leaf stripping. That's something that I recommended back in the autumn, of course, just to let the light and air swirl around those leaves, stems rather. So it's important to keep that going. I did do this one. I stripped this back to a certain extent, but it does grow. This is the trouble. They still do grow, especially with the very mild autumn that we've had this year. So I'm just going to get rid of a few of these yellowing leaves, but I am going to need to take this reverted stem out. Now, from the this base stem that I took out back in the summer, I've actually grown on to create two other standards with the solid colour. I might as well just grab those as they're just over here in good sight. These have grown on actually. It is a very fast growing variety. And there we are. This is, it's just still got the name. I've called it solid colour. It's got Steve's code on it, but I can give it its solid name. But I'll just call it solid shrimp pink for now. But they're growing on very well. But I think a head full of just that solid shrimp pink will look pretty decent. I've got a couple of these, but I will just get a knife and just lop off this solid pink head because I want to try and keep this spotted if I can. I've had people asking me what I use for my little sterilised wiper there. It is actually Jay's fluid, which is a disinfectant. Well, there we are. Now that would be fine as a cutting, but I've got two good stems of that, so I don't need to keep that. So there we are. I'll just carry on taking a couple of leaves off of this, but this is something that you just really need to do. If you get your yellowing leaves, just go around, nip them off. As I say, it has the added benefit, of course, of opening the plant up. If you see any stems that have got a bit of botrytis, because I can see there's one there that's got a bit of botrytis on, just dab a bit of green or yellow sulphur on it, which is what I will do now. I'll obviously carry on doing this after I've finished the video. A little saucer load of the old yellow sulphur. I'm just going to dab that on. I've just got a cut there. It's just got a hint of botrytis on it, nothing serious. But this is good stuff. Yellow sulphur is available in garden centres or gardening shops that you may have in your country of residence. Right, there is another one. This Stat Burn is one that's been tucked away there, and I have ignored it to a certain extent. Now, keeping blooms can be a real sort of issue, and you can see these blooms, they've come and they've just gone more or less as soon as they've opened, to be quite honest. So I'm just going to nick those out, because when these dead blooms here just drop onto the leaves, they cause scorching straight away, like they have on that one there. Hopefully you can see that. But it scorches them straight away with the damp. It could probably do with a little bit of a drink. I've just checked there to see whether it needs a drink. The main thing, of course, that you need to do now is not overwater. Can be suicidal now to overwater. This is why a lot of these plants of mine are sort of losing a few leaves. It's purely because I keep them very dry. But they're not going to really come to any harm. They will just lose a few of the base leaves. Always the fresh growth at the tip of the stems will always be fine, because the plant puts all the energy into conserving the growing tips, and it will sacrifice the lower leaves. That's how pelargoniums sort of survive in times of drought. I'm going to get rid of this bloom. I know it's almost sacrilege, because Stat Burn is a lovely, vibrant, very vibrant red, single red. Well, there we are. Once again, a little bit of a dab of sulphur on one or two of these stems. And it's as simple as that, really. I'll just go over that and just dab it over a bit more in a moment. But it does need a little bit of a drink, just a small drink, just to tide it over. Now, Regals, exactly the same. A couple of sort of dying leaves on here. I mean, just strip them off. Now, one of the problems that I really have had with Regals this year is whitefly. I've had probably the worst whitefly that I have had for a good number of years, to be quite honest. So it's very important to keep an eye out for pests. Obviously, they're this time of year now, they're dormant, or you won't even see them. But any that I've seen, you just strip the leaves off. You often see the eggs. Now, actually, I've just snapped that off, and I've seen I've got some whitefly eggs on there. There's no whitefly there because they're not really emerging now because it's too cool. But I'll put the pictures up on the video at the end, and I'll insert it at this point. Yes, we've got the good old whitefly here. There's the eggs. A few dotted over the back there, look. There they are, dotted around there. Got a few just probably showing signs of emerging there. But these are the eggs. If you see these, just take the leaves off and the plant will be fine. You can strip it back almost as much as you want to at this time. And then you get rid of the pest. I mean, it's difficult, obviously, to spray with things like neem oil and even insecticides because, you know, in the winter, and that water can just sort of hang around. So it's best just to strip the leaves containing these eggs or even the actual whitefly. So just go careful with it, and if you see it, just take them off. They're not very active at this time of year anyway. So if you get rid of all of the leaves with the eggs on, you're really probably going to get rid of most of it anyway. Now, another job that I am doing, if you've got standards, you can continue to take out the side shoots, and I'm obviously doing that. A few discoloured leaves on this one. And Regals, I've got loads and loads of them. I'm trying to build up my collection of Regal standards. I mean, this is a simple, I've been through this, side shoots on a young plant, and I'm just literally nipping out one in this case because it's obviously not growing massively fast. Here's one that I've just taken out of that particular one. So yeah, side shoots can continue to be taken out. So that's a job you can do with your standards as a winter job. If you have got a few bits growing with side shoots, the side shoots can come out. Now, Regals continue to grow really quite quickly, and I know that is pretty dry, so I don't need to dust the wound that I've just made with sulphur because that's going to really grow on. So there we are. I think that's really all I need to report at this point. It is just that if you've got a frost-free greenhouse, it's just going round, just keep making sure your plants are just kept clean, dead dying leaves remove, keep them tidy. A little bit of sulphur dust on the stems will, you know, keep the botrytis at bay. I'm going to now just carry on with this big boy here and just get rid of these final few yellowing leaves. They easily come off. So I'll probably come back in just a week or two, beginning the process of just cutting back my regals ready for the June shows next year. So that's just a task that I will be doing this month. Other than that, it's just clean, 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 and only a little bit of water in the bottom of your saucer. Probably you only need to do it every sort of 10 days or so now. You don't need to be doing it very much. If you get a little bit of bloom, just like this one, they're okay for a day or two, but then they begin to rot back. Gosh, that's got a tough stem. Let's go and put Susanna. You'll also find, incidentally, that the colours shift a bit in the very dark days of winter, because this is quite a nice sort of good red, but it's gone very almost borderlining on going a bit magenta at this time of year. So they do a colour shift this in the winter because of the lack of light, very different light conditions to the summer. So don't be surprised if your flowers are showing slightly odd colouring in the blooms. So that's something to think about. But in the meantime, I think that's just about it from me today. And I'll see you again, perhaps in a week or two when we cut back some regals. So I'll see you again. Bye-bye for now.